Welcome back to another edition of Arizona Wildcats Insiders Podcast. I'm your host, Troy Hutchison, and we are officially 5 days away, Antoine Cason days away, from Arizona kicking off its 2025 college football season as the Rainbow Warriors come to town, marking the first time the two programs have met since the passing of legendary head coach Dick Tomey, who built up Hawaii before leaving for Arizona and then built up Arizona with two 10-plus win seasons in 93. That Desert Swarm defense led Arizona to a 29-0 win over Miami in the Fiesta Bowl, finishing 10-2. Excuse me. And then in 1998, Arizona beat Nebraska 23-20, another powerhouse of the 90s, going 12-1 and finishing number 4 in the AP poll. Still to this day, the highest finish in Arizona football program history. Now, like I said, we are gearing up for the season. We are getting ever so close to the beginning of the season, which means year 2 of the Brett Brennan era. Last season, it did not go well for Arizona or Brett Brennan in his first season as the Wildcats head coach, as the team went an underwhelming 4-8. They start off number 21 in the AP poll and lost 7 of their last 8 games to close out the season. Things just seem to dogpile on Arizona. Injuries, ball not bouncing their way, poor play calling, poor developing, and that caused Brett Brennan to go into the offseason looking to revamp everything. You saw coaching changes with Seth Dagey now as the offense coordinator, Danny Gonzalez getting promoted to the defensive coordinating job. You saw Josh Miller come in as the tight ends coach, Josh Pringle come in as the linebackers coach, and Joe Salavea and Craig Nivar come in. Craig Nivar being the special teams coach and Joe Salavea, the associate head coach, plus the defensive line coach. So everything was revamped, and then Arizona added 61 new faces to its roster through the transfer portal and the 2025 recruiting class. Still, a lot of things remain the same with Noah Fafita, still the guy behind the center. So that is a massive positive for Arizona. And then in the secondary, it's loaded with talent with Traden Stukes, Dalton Johnson, Genesis Smith, ton of talent back there. Tay Brown at the linebacker position, and some guys up front like Trey Smith coming back for this season. Last year, we saw everything kind of snowball on Arizona. There are times throughout the year where the fan base was calling for Noah Fafita to be replaced by Cole Tannenbaum, walk on. It wasn't going to happen. And it wasn't necessarily Noah Fafita's fault fully that the year went south. Again, the system was terrible. Dino Babers' offensive scheme wasn't very creative or imaginative. It was basically 4 verts 60% of the time. You had just Tetero McMillan, no other weapons. So that was one of the big goals for this staff this year during the offseason, is to add depth to that recruiting, to that wide receiver room, and they were able to do that. Now they're 6 to 8 deep of legitimate talent instead of one just superstar talent and nothing behind them. And this offensive system with Daggy, it's going to be up-tempo. It's going to kind of remind fans of the Rich Rodriguez days. Obviously a little different since he is an air raid guy, but yet Marshall was 20th in rushing last year under him. So I think it's going to be a similar attack from the Rich Rodriguez system. I think you're going to see a lot of motion, a lot of creativity, getting the ball into the playmakers' hands creatively. And I'm excited to see this offense. It's been solid in training camp. I know there's been reports that they've had their struggles, but you know what? If it's not 50-50 in training camp, it's probably not going to be a good year for whatever side of the ball couldn't hold their own. If the offense is destroying the defense, then the defense is going to be bad most likely that whole entire season. Or if the defense is just rolling the offense, you're probably not going to score very many points this upcoming season. It was very well balanced, a very good attack from both sides of the ball. Last season was a little bit of a down year for Fafita, completing 61% of his passes, 18 touchdown passes with 12 interceptions. Kind of struggled throughout the year. He was sacked 28 times, and it kind of got in his head. He started missing open men over the middle of the field. Again, one true weapon in Tetero McMillan. That kind of causes you to have those issues because you're worried about getting the ball out and finding them. It kind of just snowballed for him. But yet still, statistically, 61% of your passes, Meanwhile, Iowa State, their freshman quarterback from last season, who won Big 12 Freshman of the Year, he played 58% of his passes. 58%, that's it. College football, you're basically starting out 50% with all the screen passes and quick outs. So it's not very impressive. So overall, solid season for Fafita, but he could do better. We saw 2023 Fafita be incredible and probably the second best freshman season in the history of the U of A as a quarterback. Behind only Anu Solomon, who led the team to the Fiesta Bowl and finished 10-3 that season. Well, 10-4 that season with a loss in the Fiesta Bowl. You can make a case that that 2023 team is much better than that 2014 team. And that Fafita overall is a better quarterback, but he's got to get there. So they went out and added depth because, again, last year you couldn't put anybody in besides Noah Fafita. There was nobody that had game experience. There was not very much talent there, and it was a jumbled mess. Again, you had Cole Tannenbaum come in late in the game, I think in the BYU game. You don't want to see walk-ons come in. You just don't want to do that. This year, Arizona went out and got Braden Locke from Wisconsin, flipped Sawyer Anderson from Purdue. So that gives you a high 3-star recruit and a very talented former starter at Wisconsin that could start for about 75% of this conference, I believe. When you look at what they were able to do this training camp, Noah Fafita talked about finding his voice, finding the leadership role out there on the field. The coaching staff challenged him, and he was able to do that. He led by example. He pulled guys to say, hey, we got to do this, we got to do that. We've seen it throughout training camp. He is more vocal. He is a commanding force in the locker room and in the huddle on the field. So that's huge for Arizona. Brandon Locke has a big arm, just a massive arm. He kind of reminds me a little bit of Jay Cutler. He has got that Jay Cutler gunslinging mentality, but it is a cannon for an arm. Again, I think he could start in most Big 12 schools and probably 60-something% in the country. He didn't have a bad year at Wisconsin. Wisconsin's just not a very good program anymore right now. And then lastly, Sawyer Anderson. You talk about a kid that has been shadowing Noah Fafita, shadowing Brandon Locke, and trying to learn the most from those guys. That's Sawyer Anderson. He's super athletic, has a big arm. Fafita said he's probably the best athlete in the room at the quarterback position. So his future is bright. And again, that Texas connection with Daggy and Anderson, that's really what won him over. Obviously, Daggy recruited him before, and things just didn't work out. But now he is back with Daggy. Well, he didn't really leave. I mean, he was just committed to Purdue, but flipped. And now he is ready to roll as the third-string quarterback at Arizona. So you look at this depth and how Fafita was challenged with his voice, completed that. Challenged with his legs, completed that. You have talent behind him, Brandon Locke, that can start most places in the country. Boom, goal achieved. And you have a young guy that you can try to build around potentially as the future of the program. Again, you have Oscar Rios coming in. That's going to be highly talented. But Sawyer Anderson's already been through a spring ball, through training camp, and right now he is in the lead for that. Again, a lot of stuff could change by that time. But there is talent in this room, and legitimate talent. It's the deepest quarterback room, obviously, since 2023 when he had Jaden Delora and Noah Fafita. And it might be the deepest since you had Nick Foles and Matt Scott in that quarterback room and how that played out. If I had to give a grade on the quarterbacks of this training camp with the goals they had in mind, what they needed to do, go out and achieve it, like, it was pretty impressive. It was a very impressive job by this quarterback room. Now, again, did they have their ups and downs? 100%. Nobody's perfect, and they were far from perfect. So I think if you're really looking at this, it's a room with upside, huge upside potential, and one that can translate into multiple wins for Arizona, even if Noah Fafita went down. If Noah Fafita got hurt last year, Arizona was done. You had no option behind Noah Fafita. This year, you can keep the ball rolling. You could probably win a couple games and still get to a bowl game, and that's not a knock on Noah. It's just the talent in the room now. So if I had to give this quarterback room a grade after training camp, it'd be an A-. I like this group. I think it's highly talented. They still got some work to do and some prove it out there on the field kind of conversations to have. But I think everything's moving in the right direction. And I think Arizona's going to set up for a good 2025 season. And we'll see you next time. We'll have more coverage of Arizona football as it gets closer to kickoff against the Hawaii Rainbow Warriors.